I never imagined that a cleaning lady would become my daughter's unexpected guardian. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart raced as I stared at my phone. A missed call from Sarah's school. I could feel the cold sweat forming on my brow. Anxiety gripped me. It was a Friday, and Fridays were supposed to be easy, but nothing felt easy anymore. The door swung open, revealing Evelyn the cleaning lady. She was supposed to just tidy up the place. Instead, she stood there, her face shadowed by the dim hallway light. There was something almost mystical about her. Her hair flowed like dark silk, and her almond-shaped eyes sparkled with a depth I had never noticed before. I felt an inexplicable connection to her, a breath of hope lingering in the air, but also an unsettling tension. Sarah loved her. Evelyn tells the best stories, she'd say with her giddy laugh that echoed through our small apartment. I remembered the way Sarah's eyes lit up when she talked about Evelyn's strange tales of life back in her home country, almost like they were woven from a different fabric, each story rich with symbolism and lessons. Was it magic or wisdom that kept her coming back? But today was different. The unease hung like smoke. I could almost hear its suffocating silence filling the room. My heart pounded loudly, drowning out everything else. I braced myself. "I need to talk to you," Evelyn said, her voice steady yet urgent. My stomach nodded. Was something wrong with Sarah? I found myself leaning in, desperate for answers. Her trembling hands brushed the door frame. A crack in her usual confidence. "You shouldn't be alone," she continued, her gaze piercing through me like a lightning bolt. It made me shiver. Something's coming. Something dark. My mind swirled with confusion. I wanted to laugh it off, but the seriousness in her tone held me captive. I glanced back at the empty room. The shadows felt longer, darker. I remembered how the last 6 months had been a blur of struggles, lost jobs, sleepless nights, uncertainty haunting every step. Evelyn couldn't possibly know the extent of the storm raging inside me. As she explained, her voice faded in and out, replaced by the hammering of my heart. "They're watching, waiting. You must trust me." Each word hung in the air like thick fog, wrapping around my skin, chilling me. Frozen, I stared at her, searching for the truth in those deep eyes. "What do you mean? Who's watching?" I could barely whisper. But just then, the floor creaked behind me, a noise I hadn't anticipated. My heart dropped. I turned around to see Sarah standing there, wide-eyed and frozen between the hallway and the living room. The innocence in her gaze pierced through my fear. I felt a rush of panic. What if the darkness came for her? Evelyn stepped forward, shielding Sarah with her presence, as if she knew something more than what I could ever understand. My chest tightened with a mix of dread and disbelief. Would Evelyn truly protect my daughter? Or was the danger already here, lurking in shadows I couldn't see? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The sound of Sarah's heartbeat matched the rhythm of my own, both underscoring the fragile moment we were caught in. Time seemed to slow as I searched for comfort in her innocent eyes, the same eyes that now flickered with a hint of fear as she stood, paralyzed by uncertainty. I instinctively stepped towards her, wanting to shield her from whatever darkness Evelyn spoke of, yet the gravity in the air forced me to remain still. "Mommy," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "What's happening?" Evelyn knelt beside her, offering a gentle smile that broke through the tension like sunlight splintering through clouds. "Nothing you need to worry about, my dear," she said softly, brushing a stray hair from Sarah's face. "But we must be brave. Can you help us be brave?" I watched, a mix of gratitude and apprehension swirling within me. There was a kindness in Evelyn's demeanor that made me believe she could, in some way, protect my daughter, even as a part of me raised silent questions about the very nature of the threat lurking in the shadows. What do we do? I managed to ask, my voice a hoarse whisper. The panic gnawed at my insides. Evelyn straightened, her gaze unwavering. We prepare. Knowledge is our ally. It'll teach you both. With a nod, I felt a spark of resolve ignite. This would not destroy us. We would not let the darkness win. But deep inside, the uncertainty spiraled. What could she possibly mean? What preparations could protect us from something I couldn't fathom? As the days passed, Evelyn began to weave her presence deeper into our lives, filling our once static home with warmth and a newfound sense of purpose. Every Friday, she arrived not only to clean but to share stories of resilience, lessons wrapped in vivid fables. Together, we gathered in our small living room, where the late afternoon sun streaming through the window painted golden patches on the floor, listening as she narrated tales that resonated with a depth I had long forgotten existed. One story became a favorite for Sarah, the tale of an ancient warrior queen who, despite all odds, stood against the shadows of despair and came back stronger, wiser. There was hope in every word, and little by little I watched Sarah uncover a strength she had yet to tap into, like emerging from a chrysalis. Yet, even amidst these moments of light, the shadows gnawed at the edges of my mind. A constant flicker of movement outside our apartment, shadows lingering just a moment too long. I didn't speak of it, but Evelyn's presence assured me I was not alone in these fears. I saw her glance out the window sometimes, her brow furrowed, a storm visibly brewing behind those soft eyes. One evening, as Sarah prepared for bed, I lingered in the doorway, noticing how the evening light danced on her bed covers, reflecting her sense of hope even while I felt the weight of apprehension heavily upon my chest. Before I could step back, Evelyn caught my eye from the living room, and there was something unspoken exchanged. Evelyn? I called softly. She turned, and in her gaze, I saw a tightening of lips that hinted at the undisclosed burden she carried with her. Do you really think we can face whatever is coming? Instead of answering, she motioned for me to join her. We stepped into the living room, away from the delicate dreams wrapping around my daughter. Sometimes, she said slowly, the shadows appear more daunting than they truly are. But they reveal themselves only to those who seek the truth. Her words set off a chime of understanding deep within me. What do you know? I pressed, the urgency unearthing deeper fears. What truth are we looking for? But before she could respond, the power flickered. A sudden darkness enveloped the room, and a rush of cold air swept through, carrying the unsettling sensation of being watched. My heart raced, casting glances around, searching for the source. Evelyn. I grasped her arm instinctively, but she remained serene, as if communing with a force beyond my comprehension. We need to go check on Sarah. As I turned back toward the hallway, I felt the grip of panic constricting my heart. But I was too late. The front door stood wide open, swaying on its hinges, a gaping mouth taunting us. A boundary breached. Sarah. I screamed, adrenaline spurring me into a run, my breaths short and frantic. The shadows felt denser now, coiling around me as I sprinted toward her room, but even as I reached the doorway, I was met with the profound stillness of the chilling void. Sarah. I called again, fear lacing my voice. I leaned into the quiet space, but there was no answer. Finally, I stepped into her room, the familiar walls now heavy with a tang of dread. The bed was empty, the blankets thrown back as if in a hurry. Just then, a piece of paper fluttered gently from the window and landed at my feet. I snatched it up, breathing hard, trembling as I recognized the flowing script. The words felt foreign yet eerily familiar, almost like a mystic promise teasing from halfway across a dream. Do not fear the shadows, they show themselves only to the brave. I will return for her. Trust in the light, who is coming for my daughter. The shadows grew ever closer, the weight of uncertainty pressing down like a thick fog, and in that moment, against the pulsing silence, an unfathomable dread took root. My heart sank as my mind spiraled, realizing the journey we were on was just beginning, and every flicker of light hid deeper darkness behind its veil. That I was left alone, anxiety thrumming through my veins, not knowing if I could trust Evelyn, or if the call for courage would be enough against the approaching storm. The night stretched long and heavy, each minute an eternity as I stood paralyzed in Sarah's deserted room, the words of the message echoing like a sinister chant in my mind. I will return for her. Who was this entity that dared to claim my daughter? My heart thudded painfully, its rhythm a frantic drum echoing through the stillness. The shadows quivered in the corners, taunting, reminding me of the uncertainty that gnawed at my insides. I forced myself to step back from the brink of despair. What choices did I truly have? Where could I run? My home had never felt so alien, the walls closing in like a suffocating embrace designed to imprison me in my worst fears. Evelyn. I called out, desperately searching for a thread of clarity. I tore down the hall, my steps loud and clumsy on the wooden floor, the silence mocking me. If Evelyn truly understood the gravity of our situation, she had to help us find Sarah. She could be the key. In the living room, the soft amber light from the fading lamp illuminated Evelyn's poised figure, her expression a mask of collected calm, as if she had somehow anticipated the tempest. I felt both gratitude and anger swirl, a tumultuous mix as turbulent as the storm inside me. Where is she? My voice was rasping, thick with a mixture of rage and desperation. You have to tell me. Evelyn stood, her gaze unwavering, but I could see the flicker of worry behind her resolute facade. She is safe, I promise. There is a reason for all of this, she said, her voice steady yet soothing. But you must trust me. The shadows are not what you think. Trust you. How can I trust you when you keep things from me? I sputtered, my emotions rearing like a wild stallion, pushing against the reins. What do you know? You speak in riddles. Are you a part of this? Not a part of it, but connected to it, she replied, a hint of sorrow weaving into her tone. I had hoped all of this could have been avoided, but her words trailed off, hinting at deeper complexities. Your daughter is a beacon, drawn to her light. It creates ripples that attract what lies in the darkness. What do you mean? I felt myself sway, an unseen force unsteadying my footing. What does that even mean? Evelyn sucked in a breath, her resolve bolstered as she stepped closer. There are forces at play that are rarely understood. Sarah was destined for this path, whether you are willing to accept it or not. This will become a battle, not only for our lives but for the essence of what it means to be brave. A battle. The word struck like a blow, the starkness settling heavily in the pit of my stomach. What does that mean for her? For us, I can teach you, but it will take time, and the shadows will seek to pull you apart. Evelyn's eyes locked onto mine, filled with a fierce intensity. We need to prepare, and we must do it together. But just as the gravity of her words began to sink in, a chilling breeze swept through the room, swirling the map I had laid out earlier on the coffee table, sending it tumbling into chaotic disarray. Instinctively, I turned to the window, only to find it wide open, the curtain billowing like a ghostly figure beckoning from the void outside. Why is it so cold? I shivered, feeling the ominous weight of uncertainty descend around us. I fear they're near, Evelyn breathed, the color draining from her face. We must act quickly. There are rituals we can learn together, but we'll need Sarah's energy. Only then can we confront whatever is looming in the dark. No. I interjected, panic seeping into my voice. I cannot risk her coming back here. Before Evelyn could respond, a loud crash from Sarah's room echoed through the apartment, splintering the fragile veil of calm we'd tried to weave. An insistent thud reverberated in the silence, compelling me to spring forward, driven by instinct. I dashed down the hallway, heart pounding, dread clawing at the depths of my chest as I flung open the door, ready to confront my worst fears. Instead, I was met with the spectacle of smooth walls, undisturbed corners, and the remnants of my own anxiety. Sarah's bed, still bare and untouched. But what caught my attention was a beam of white light streaming through the mosaic of colors on the floor, forming shapes that were too ethereal to comprehend messages. If only I could decipher them. Sarah. I called once more, my voice sounding foreign in the eerie quietness of the chaos. But then, faint laughter, sweet and bright, echoed from somewhere beyond. It was a sound I hadn't realized. I craved, the essence of childhood innocence unfurling in a world gone dark. My heart dropped, torn between solace and the creeping darkness that loomed ever closer. casting shadows on the fragile promise of hope. Evelyn stepped into the doorway, breathless as if she, too, could hear the laughter threading through the night. A spark ignited between our fearful glances, a shared understanding in the face of uncertainty but also a gnawing fear of the unknown. "We don't have much time," she said, voice low but urgent. "Time for what?" I whispered, my breath caught between fear and fleeting hope. "For you to decide," she replied, her eyes piercing mine as if wanting to reach into my very soul. "Will you accept the light?" Before I could process her words, shadows flickered at the edge of my vision, a formless threat lurking just beyond reach, and in that instant, I felt the ground shift beneath me. The decision loomed, the darkness grazed my shoulders, whispering promises of despair and chaos, begging me to succumb. Then the laughter faded, leaving a chilling silence in its wake, pulling me back into the depths of uncertainty. The decision balanced precariously at the tip of my heart, me courage against the encroaching shadows threatening to swallow everything whole, including the last vestiges of hope I clung to. In that defining moment, as the world teetered on the edge of illumination and darkness, a startling thought crashed over me. What if I made the wrong choice, and what if Sarah was right beyond reach, waiting for Simeone to find her in the maze of shadows where uncertainty ruled? The air grew thick with unuttered fears as I stood at the precipice of choice, the weight of my heartbeat a silent accusation of my stillness. I could feel the shadows curling around me, sinister tendrils stretching just beyond my line of sight, coaxing me into their dark embrace. "Evelyn," I murmured, trembling at the intersection of dread and decision, "what happens if I choose wrong?" "I can't tell you that," she replied, her voice steady yet laced with an edge of urgency. "But I can tell you that light and darkness are often intertwined. The beautiful richness of life depends on both. This is your daughter we're fighting for." The flickering beam of light that had captivated my attention was beginning to fade, as if responding to my confusion. An urgency imbued the air, and I felt it within my bones. A deadline was looming, sharper than the shadows wrapping around my ankles. "Where is she, Evelyn?" My voice trembled, wavering with the tide of conflicting emotions. "What if I lose her? What if the shadows take her away forever?" Evelyn took a step toward me, her kindness cutting through the chaos like a beacon. "You won't lose her. But you must act. Together, we can reclaim her light. If we don't, the shadows will grow stronger, feeding on the uncertainty." That I closed my eyes, desperately weaving through the threads of panic and hope that entwined my mind. In that span of darkness, a vision flickered like a fragile candle, a memory of Sarah's bright smile, her laughter lighting up the most mundane moments. I clenched my fists, determination bubbling within me. "Tell me what to do. I don't care about the risk, I just want to save her." A moment of stillness enveloped the room, the air thick with the gravity of my choice. Then Evelyn nodded, her expression shifting from caution to resolve. "We must summon her spirit, but we will need to create a bridge between the two worlds, the known and the hidden." "Summon her? And how do we do that?" I asked, the knot in my stomach tightening as shadows whispered their dark promises, teasing just outside our sanctuary. "Well, use the light," she said, her voice a calming melody against the tumultuous sea of my fears. "But first, we need items that hold her essence, things that she cherishes. We must summon them before the night fully consumes the light." Before I could respond, Evelyn reached into her bag, revealing a handful of trinkets that glimmered under the dim light: a worn-out teddy bear, a silver bracelet with Sarah's name etched in delicate cursive, and a notebook filled with drawings of fantastical creatures. Compelled by instinct, I added my own contribution, Sarah's favorite storybook, its pages crinkled from countless readings, a tangible representation of her cherished dreams. As we placed the items in a circle on the floor, the atmosphere shifted. The shadows trembled, a surge of energy coursing through the room as I felt a storm of emotions stirring, hope mingling dangerously close to despair. "Now, we must speak her name," Evelyn instructed, her hand steadying mine as we knelt before the circle. "With each repetition, we call her spirit closer. We will bridge the distance between your love and her light, Sarah," I said, my voice resolute, the name ringing with every ounce of longing I felt. "Sarah, please come back to me, Sarah." Evelyn joined, her voice harmonizing with mine, resonating through the apartment as if the very walls could echo our plea. Just as we spoke her name for the third time, an implosion of energy erupted around us, illuminating the dark corners of the room with sharp beams of ethereal light. I blinked, shielding my eyes from the brilliance while the air crackled with a newfound intensity, and then, as if summoned by our desperation, the laughter returned sweet, clear, and unmistakably Sarah's. It danced through the air like the melody of hope interwoven with courage. "Mommy. Help me." The voice was a fragile yet desperate plea from another realm, piercing through the fabric of our reality like a beam of sunlight breaking through storm clouds. I gasped, tears spilling down my cheeks as relief ignited inside my chest, a small ember in a sea of despair. Suddenly, the laughter cut off as abruptly as it had started, plunging us back into an unsettling silence. A sense of dread flashed through me like lightning, and for the first time, I felt a heavy weight settle on my heart. "Evelyn, that wasn't a normal laugh," I whispered, fear entwining my words. "What if it means something is wrong?" "Stay with me," Evelyn urged, her voice firm yet gentle. "This is part of the cycle. We're close. We must clarify our intent and show her that she is loved, that she is safe." That I took a breath, deepening my resolve even as dread clung to my throat like cold iron. "Sarah, we're here. Your mom is here," I shouted, hoping against hope that somehow, somewhere, she could hear Medhat. The bridge we were attempting to build reached into the depths of darkness that sought to claim her, but the flickering light around us began to dim, its brightness waning, and with it, I felt the shadows grow bold, whispering lullabies of confusion and dismay. The echoes of Sarah's laughter faded into an ache, leaving an emptiness that rang louder than a scream. Then, as I looked into the shifting vortex of shadows, a sudden truth kindled beneath my heart, something I feared but could no longer conceal. What if the entity that threatened her also held the key to her return? And what if Evelyn's plan, rooted in desperation, would expose us to the very darkness we so fervently wished to escape? Suddenly, a gust of wind burst through the window, catching the tomes and trinkets that had begun to veer toward the dark edges of our sanctuary. The shadows around me coiled tighter, their whispers morphing into a haunting chant that echoed my fears. A shudder cascaded down my spine as I realized with growing dread that we were not just looking for Sarah, we were inviting something far worse. A bone-chilling revelation washed over me. What if in trying to bring my daughter back, I was only playing into the hands of whatever dark force had claimed her in the first place? Before I could voice my apprehensions, the shadows surged, and the room shifted, leaving us naked against the backdrop of our choices. The shadows thickened, swirling around us as though they were alive, breathing entities eager to claim what light remained. My breath quickened, panic rising alongside the shadows as they encroached upon our sanctuary, testing the boundaries of courage I clung to. "Evelyn, we need to go. This isn't safe," I urged, my voice tinged with urgency as reality distorted under the pressure of the dark energy. The circle we had created flickered like a candle in the storm, struggling against the tempest that threatened to extinguish us. "No," she replied, her voice steady but eyes bright with determination. "We can't abandon this. Sarah needs us. You need to trust the light we summoned." But trust felt like sand slipping through my fingers, each grain a reminder of what I stood to lose. I looked into Evelyn's eyes, searching for answers in the depths of her unwavering gaze. Did she sense the same dread gnawing at my insides? The weight of unasked questions coursed between us as we grappled for understanding amid the chaos. "Sarah." I shouted once more, the crack of my voice echoing against the walls, swallowed by the shadows. I felt small, insignificant against forces far beyond my comprehension. The energy pulsed around us, sending ripples of uncertainty coursing through my veins. A flicker of movement caught my eye, a fleeting image of Sarah's face among the shadows, distorted but unmistakable. The heart-stopping laughter returned momentarily, now tinged with an unsettling timbre, a sound that twisted hope into a jagged ache. "I am here," I cried, desperation turning my words into a prayer. "I'm coming for you, baby. Just hold on." But the shadows grew stronger, thickening around us until I could hardly see. It felt as if the air had turned to lead, each breath drawing in more despair. Moments stretched into eternity, and then, in a chilling moment of clarity, the air shifted again. A silvery thread emerged from the heart of the tumult, glimmering with a light that felt like Sarah's laughter rekindled. It lanced through the darkness, illuminating the cacophony of shadows that recoiled from its brilliance. Curiosity and fear twisted within me as I stepped closer to the light, listening as it began to coalesce into whispers. "Mommy?" The voice seeped from the shimmering thread, softer now, tinged with the sweetness of childhood but laced with fear. "Help me, please, hold on, Sarah. I'm coming," I cried, reaching out, fingertips brushing against the ethereal light. But just as quickly as it appeared, the light flickered, wavering under the pressure of encroaching shadows. "Evelyn, we need to do something." Panic surged as I turned to her, but I noticed something strange flicker across her face. Fear, yes, but also knowledge. "What is it?" "There's another way," she said, urgency tinging her voice. "I know what the shadows want, but it's not what you think. They thrive on fear and despair, but they have a weakness. Light, true light, not just what we call upon. Love. Your love, Evelyn. Your love brought us this far, don't you see?" The realization struck me with an unexpected force, echoing through me like a blaze of hope. If we can expand that, if we can show her that she is not alone, that we fight for her with everything. "Yes," she urged, a fire igniting in her eyes. "But we have to amplify it. You must dig deeper, go to the very root of your love for her. The memories, the dreams, everything she means to you. Channel it through the circle." That I closed my eyes, focusing on the tumult of emotions thrumming in my chest. I thought of days spent spinning in the sun, dancing in the kitchen, whispered bedtime stories that melted into night. I thought of her, small and tender, cradled in my arms, laughter spilling like sunlight between us. With every heartbeat, I reached for those memories, intertwining them, weaving a tapestry of unwavering love, a shield against the dark. "Bring her back to me," I whispered, focusing that energy into the circle. "Show her she is everything to me. She is light, Sarah." Evelyn joined, her voice anchoring mine, grounding the emotional storm we conjured. The shimmering thread pulsated, responding to our intentions. It shimmered brighter, shoving shadows back into the recesses where they shrunk under the fierce glow of love, but then unexpectedly, a violent tremor rippled through the room. The shadows writhed, contorting as they reached out, grasping at the very essence of our bond. A haunting sound erupted from the swirling mass, a cacophony of rage and anguish that shook me to my core, and amid that chaos, the revelation spun like a web between us, a chilling realization that maybe, just maybe, the darkness, that sinister force lurking in the corners, was no mere entity. It was something intimately linked to our fight, a shadow of my own making. And then, above the shadow's din, came a whisper, soft yet potent, clear as a bell. "Mommy, I can't hold on." I felt the world tilt, the dimension between fear and hope shrinking as a new dread washed over me. Something crucial was about to snap, and the entity lurking within the dark shadows might very well be the key defining Sarah's fate. Fear clawed at me, and I knew in that moment, I was perilously close to a truth I was not ready to confront. What if the very light that guided me toward Sarah held a breathtaking truth that could shatter everything I thought I knew? The shadows roared, and the light dimmed, leaving me to grapple with a shocking realization: I was not the only one fighting for Sarah's spirit. And in this harrowing struggle between light and darkness, the shadows were about to reveal something that would change everything. As the shadows clawed at the edges of my consciousness, my thoughts spun like the vortex of chaos surrounding us. I could feel the panic suffocating me, yet amidst the suffocating dread, flickers of realization pierced through. Evelyn's voice was a balm, grounding me amidst turmoil. "Your love is her anchor, Evelyn," I exclaimed, though my voice trembled as I grappled with the truth unraveling. We had come so far, pushed through so much darkness, and now, at the precipice of despair, I could feel the love emanating like a beacon, bright yet fragile. But the shadows were relentless, weaving tendrils of confusion and despair around me. I fought against them, digging deeper into the roots of memory's unfiltered love now infused with fear for Sarah's safety. As I pressed on, I caught bitter glimpses of my shortcomings. The countless moments of doubt, frustration, and guilt that lingered after I had raised my voice, seeking to hide my shortcomings behind a facade of strength. Would she forgive me? Would she know that I had always chosen her, even when independence felt overwhelming and heartrending? "Mommy, don't let go." The urgency in Sarah's voice gripped me like a vice. My heart tightened, straining against the walls of my chest. "I want. I promise." I yelled, but the shadows choked my words, turning them into wisps of despair. I could feel the shadows pulling at every festering fear I harbored, amplifying it, twisting even the fabric of my love into doubt. Evelyn stepped closer, touching my arm, her warmth a stark contrast against the chill creeping in. "We have to open our hearts wider. Share everything you have, more than what stands between you and your child, but what if that makes it worse?" I whispered, doubt a constant companion in this battle. What if my fears feed the shadows, or what if they weaken them? She replied, her confidence a lifeline. What if your past pain is the key to illuminating your love for her? In that moment, I understood. Beneath the shadows were echoes of the love I had fought to shield Sarah from, fears I had allowed to control me, fears that might hold the answers to pulling her back from the brink. It began as a flicker, the raw energy igniting within me, a tremor of belief that leaped with each heartbeat. "Sarah." I began again, my voice deeper, laced with the assurance that had become scarce. "I love you. I've made mistakes, but you are my light, my reason. I've feared losing you, and that led me into shadows of my making. But I am here, always." The shimmering thread pulsed, resonating with my words, the fabric of love intertwining with the fabric of forgiveness as if the two were intricately braided. I closed my eyes and envisioned her, the way her tiny hands would cling to mine, the way her laughter danced through our home like sunlight spilling through curtains. "Every mistake I made was trying to protect you," I continued, speaking as much to the shadows as to Sarah. "Every fear was a reflection of the depth of love I hold for you, one that I never want to see dim. Your spirit, my darling, is unbreakable, and I'll fight to prove it." And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a warmth blossom inside, a flicker of courage coursing through my veins, as if to say, "Yes, remember what love feels like, remember that fight." The shadows recoiled and twisted, shrieking, revealing an unexpected vulnerability. In this emotional maelstrom, the darkness around me faltered, and the shimmering thread surged in response to our collective strength. But just then, the air thickened as a new presence surged through the darkness, disorienting and palpable. A figure emerged from the shadows, her outline familiar yet cloaked in an aura that swirled ominously. "Mommy, look out!" came Sarah's voice again, merging with the frantic whispers from the shadows. I turned, heart racing, dread chilling my spine as the figure stepped into the wavering light. It was Hera, a reflection of me, yet not quite. The figure wore a sorrowful expression, mingled with anger and desperation. "I did this," she whispered, her voice a ghostly echo of my own. "All you feared became my chains, binding me to this darkness. You must stop clinging to the shadows of fear to save her." Evelyn gasped, stepping back, and so did I. The truth was profound and terrifying. The shadows around me swirled, feeding off my confusion, tantalizing me with the depths of revelation. I was faced with a reflection of myself so raw it threatened to bulldoze through the walls I had built. "Why?" I shouted into the abyss, anger mixed with confusion. "Why would you do this to me?" To Sarah, the darkness twisted into echoes of my fears, my insecurities, the hidden memories I had buried deep but had continuously battled. They pulsed with the knowledge that I wasn't whole. My weaknesses had started this unruly storm that I, in the pivotal moment where fear gripped my heart tightly, I faced the unexpected guardian of my daughter's fate, myself, my own darkness manifested. And as the shadows rose around the figure, a fierce knot tightened in my chest, my heart beat a pained rhythm. I was only beginning to understand the depth of the shadows I had created. The battle was far from over, and the true fight for Sarah's spirit was now entwined with unraveling the truth I had buried deep within. Would love truly break the curse, or was I destined to relapse into shadows of my making? As I stood before the reflection of my own ashamed despair, the darkness shifted, resonating with a haunting tension that threatened to choke the resolve I had just found. The figure, an apparition of my deepest fears, stared back at me, eyes filled with sorrow and unspoken regret. I felt as though I was delving into a maelstrom, both heartbroken and angry, a tempest of emotions swirling dangerously close to the brink of chaos. Do you not see? The figure spoke, her voice dripping with apprehension. Every time you pushed your fears away, you built this darkness around her. Every moment of doubt you handed to Sarah was another chain you forged, another weight placed on her heart. You thought you were protecting her, but in doing so, you imprisoned us both. Her words hung in the air like an unforgiving fog, wrapping around me, tightening its grip. I could feel Evelyn at my side, her presence a faint anchor in the furious storm surging around us. My mind raced. Could it truly be that I had locked my child behind the bars of my anxieties? I thought I was her shield, but perhaps I was only a warden. No. I cried out, desperation cutting through my fear. I would never choose to harm her. I love her, yet love cannot bloom in soil laced with fear, the figure countered, an insistent tremor writhing beneath my skin as she stepped closer, the light flickering between us. It twisted your perception and fed the shadows. You must untangle those bonds to set her free. A cascade of memories flooded my mind, moments of joy intertwined with times I lashed out in ignorance, my heart blind to the shadows creeping in every time I let my fears dictate my actions. I had sought to protect her from the world's terrors, only to create my own. The air around us pulsed with a thick energy, vibrant yet foreboding, and I could feel the tendrils of chaos reaching. I fought to maintain clarity and steadiness, but the fear clawed at my resolve. Would I truly have to face my deepest insecurities to save Sarah? Mommy, please. Sarah's voice echoed again, brandishing desperation with it. I could sense her heartbreak, and it tethered me to the flickering thread of hope. Yet the specter of my own making kept drawing me in, as if it reveled in the darker elements I had tried to suppress for so long. That we must reach her together, Evelyn urged, gripping my arm tighter as if bolstering my resolve. Show that figure that the light is more powerful than the darkness. You have the strength to push against this. Gazing into the figure's eyes, I realized it was a part of me, an embodiment of every lingering fear and unresolved regret. You don't have to be my enemy, I murmured, feeling unexpected compassion rushing to the forefront. We can learn from each other. Show me how to be better. Help me to fight for Sarah. The figure's expression shifted, and for a moment, the tempest in her eyes softened. I wanted to believe that she too longed for freedom, that her anger was merely a reflection of the pain I had long since buried, the guilt I had hidden under layers of bravado like some precious artifact too fragile to be unearthed. Perhaps, she replied slowly, her voice akin to fragile glass, if you realize that our chains can bind us or be broken if you embrace the fears instead of fighting them. With those words, a spark ignited inside me. I began to understand that facing down the shadows would mean acknowledging the pain, the weaknesses, and the love intertwined within. I could not afford to simply brandish my heart as a weapon but rather hold it out in vulnerability, a fierce declaration of love amidst chaos. Sarah. I called again, the name a lifeline as I pushed deeper into the shadows, praying she would hear my determination. You are so much stronger than you know. I love you beyond measure, and we can do this together. Please, don't give in to the darkness. Together, we shine brighter than any fear. Follow my voice. The shadows quivered, drawn to the clarity in my tone, their thrumming intensity pulling at both the fear and love born within me, still battling to contend within the storm. It was a symphony, each vibration a reminder of what was at stake. She was still there. I could feel her, though constricted by the chains of our intertwined fears. Suddenly, a warmth swept through me, a resonance of hope that fluctuated through the tumultuous air. Then, as if the world balanced on the edge of a knife, the dark figure before me began to shift, taking a step back as a new light broke through the oppressive gloom. I saw Sarah's silhouette emerging, her eyes wide with confusion yet hope, the shimmering thread of love connecting us like a tapestry unraveling. Mommy. She cried, voice filled with a sweetness that tasted of liberation. But just as I prepared to reach for her, a rush of cold air struck, an unimaginable force that snuffed out the light surrounding her. The shadows surged back, swallowing her momentarily in a torrent of hate and restriction. No. I shouted, panic and disbelief tumbling through me. Evelyn, help. We have to fight this. Evelyn's steady hand squeezed mine tighter, our shared fear weaving into a sturdy cord of strength. You have come so far already. Together, we must face this storm. We can break these chains. I clung to her words, rising from the depths of despair. But as the darkness swirled again, I felt a foreign presence press against my heart, a revelation so profound it paralyzed me. It was an echo, a whisper of a forgotten memory of Sarah, her laughter caught in the splinters of the void, and with it came an understanding as chilling as it was empowering. Perhaps in fighting to grasp Sarah's love, I was clinging to the wrong pursuit. In navigating these tangled shadows, would I find that what needed saving wasn't just her, but the part of me that still held darkness tightly, afraid to let go? The stakes had just risen, and as I locked eyes with my daughter once more, her image fading in and out of the shadows' clutches, a shocking revelation unfurled, a choice that could bring us liberation or plunge us deeper into the void. I could fight to shatter the chains binding her, embracing every fear and vulnerability I had avoided for too long, or remain shackled as the specter danced to its own treacherous thread against the suffocating tide of despair. My resolve surged within me, a heartbeat away from salvation yet balanced perilously between light and dark. Sarah's face lingered, hope resting upon the fragile promises and shadows that swirled endlessly around us. What power lay within this exchange? Would I dare to confront the very darkness I had birthed in the name of protection? And would it be enough to free my daughter, or was I risking everything for a light that might flicker out amid chaos? My heart raced, time suspended, as I awaited the moment that could alter our fates forever. In the depths of that suffocating darkness, my heart raced, its rhythm thundering in my ears like a drum echoing a call to battle. I stood firm, though fear and uncertainty clawed at my insides, ready to fight not just for Sarah, but for myself as well, the mother I had long forgotten amidst the storm of doubt. But as I strained against the shadows that twisted and turned like vipers around us, a glimmer of something caught my eye, a faint, warm light flickering at the far corner of the tempest. It pulsed, growing brighter with each heartbeat, seemingly beckoning me to move closer, to reach for its warmth. "Mommy." Sarah's voice carried through the turbulence, muffled yet tangible, pulling at the threads of my heart. Despite being ensnared, I could see her desperation, like a fragile flower caught in a storm. "Help me," I pressed forward, Evelyn's hand still clutched in mine, our united force a beacon against the consuming chaos. "Hold on, Sarah. We're here." I called out into the void, willing my love for her to transform into a lifeline that would pierce through the torment. The shadows roared back, angry at our determination. They coiled around my legs, whispering sweet temptations of surrender, reminding me of my failures and fears, but I pushed through, refusing to let despair quell the love I bore for my child. Evelyn's presence next to me was solid, her calm resolute enough to ward away the whispers of doubt. "Remember who you are," she urged softly, her voice like a cool breeze amidst the oppressive heat of the dark. "You are stronger than the shadows. Your love is light. Use it." And so I did. Drawing from the depths of my heart, I imagined Sarah, her laughter filling rooms and lifting spirits like the sun's rays breaking through the clouds after a storm. "You are my light, my strength. I will not let fear dictate our love." My words rang out, each syllable a blade cutting through the fog, clearing a path to her flickering light. Just as I believed we would conquer the shadows, there was a sudden shift. From behind the darkness, a figure emerged, a woman, hunched and weary, her face partially obscured, but her presence radiated a curious warmth. It was as if she had journeyed through an entirely different realm to find us. A cleaning lady, clad in a simple uniform with a worn cap hiding her hair, descended like a guardian angel amid an inferno. "Evelyn." I called out in confusion, but the woman shook her head, her eyes alight with a fierce determination that echoed the brightest stars. She stepped forward into the darkness, a power oozing from her every movement as she extended her hands towards us. "That I knew you would find your way," she said, voice steady like the earth beneath our feet. "You must release the bond that binds you both here. The love you fear will become the key." Who are you?" I stammered, clinging to Evelyn's side. "That I am just someone who knows the weight of despair," she replied, her voice imbued with understanding. "You don't need to be shackled by darkness. You have the power to cleanse the chains. Let me guide you. The dark figure twisted angrily as if sensing a threat in her intrusion. Do you even know what you are meddling with? You are nothing to them. But the cleaning lady stood fearless, her gaze unwavering as the shadows recoiled. I may be nothing in this world, but I carry the strength of many. Let me help you in this fight. Even as the suffocating darkness threatened to spiral back, I felt a palpable change, the air humming with potential, every inch of my being urging me to accept her aid. This sweet stranger, in her humility, radiated such fierce grace that it cut through the storm. Together, we can challenge the darkness. Drawing on everything I had learned and the bond once shared with my daughter, I stepped forward. Sarah. Feel the strength surrounding you. We are not alone in this fight. Trust in us. The glowing warmth from the cleaning lady spread through my veins, igniting something within. I felt my fears begin to transform into courage, my doubts morphing into a protective force. The shadows beneath my feet writhed as they realized the shift in power. Suddenly, the light flickering at the edge intensified, and Sarah's form shone brighter against the gloom, her features growing defined amid the tumult. I could see her fears starting to give way to hope, her little hands reaching out as if to grasp the very light we conjured. Mommy, I feel you. She cried, tears mingling with determination. I'm scared, but I trust you. The dark shadows writhed, furious, rearing back like some great beast poised to strike. You will regret this. You cannot escape me. With a fierce cry, I raised my hands to the dark, feeling the warmth from the cleaning lattice presence infusing me. We will not bow to fear. Our love is stronger than any shadow. Just as the darkness lunged, we formed a circle with the cleaning lady at the helm, our hearts interwoven like a tapestry of hope and fortitude. I closed my eyes tightly, willing every ounce of love, every whispered prayer, every lingering fear to coalesce into a flood of radiance that reached for Sarah. But right then, a rending realization petrified me. A minuscule strand of doubt still clung within, a fear that perhaps I was merely exchanging one prison for another. Was trusting this stranger the right decision? What if my hope shattered? As the shadows began to shrink against the undeniable light of our unity, the cleaning lady turned towards me, her gaze piercing. You are not just battling for your daughter. You're battling for yourself too. Accept what you must lose to regain everything that I am. That heart-stopping moment, my resolve wavered, and just as the darkness pulsed violently, a sudden crash echoed through the void, a shattering of unspeakable proportions threatening to envelop everything I held dear. The spectre readied itself to retaliate, and I was left teetering on the brink of clarity and ruin. That fleeting moment, the light flickered, caught between us, desperately awaiting my decision. Would I embrace the unknown, wrestle with my past, and untangle the truth that lay hidden within? Or would I allow the darkness to reclaim my heart and Sarah's fleeting hope forever? Time hung in the balance, an aching silence as the clash of forces erupted around us, leaving me to face the deepest unknown. Yet could I rise to lift the weight of my own chains? As the chaos swirled around us, threatening to swallow what little light remained, I felt a shiver of uncertainty creep up my spine. My heart raced not just with fear for Sarah, but for the very notion of hope itself, something I had almost forgotten existed. The cleaning lattice presence surged with warmth, yet the shadows hissed with an urgency that the battle was far from over. Now, Amanda. She urged, her eyes sharp as daggers. You must choose to believe. The word echoed in my mind like a mantra, yet it both terrified and empowered me. I glanced at Sarah through the violent flickers of light and dark, her small hands outstretched, trembling against the grasp of fear. Each pulse of hopelessness pushed the shadows closer, and I could feel the very air grow thicker, laden with despair. Mommy. Sarah called again, and the tremor in her voice gripped my heart. I needed to break through, to bridge the gap between my daughter and the loving mother I'd all but buried beneath years of doubt and guilt. That I am here, baby. Just hold on a little longer. I shouted back, clenching Evelyn's hand as a reminder of the strength of companionship. But even as I reached deeper into my reservoir of love, a whisper of doubt trailed behind, a nagging voice telling me I was not enough, that the darkness would ultimately win. With a sudden fierce determination, I shifted my gaze back to the cleaning lady. What do I need to let go of? I shouted over the cacophony. What chains hold me back? She remained unwavering, her presence a bastion of quiet strength. You must confront the shadows of your past. Only then can you find the key to unlock your heart. In Sarah's hope.my mind flashed to memories I had long since buried, shattered dreams, failures that twisted like barbs in my chest, the incomprehensible weight of guilt for not being a perfect mother. Each recollection stung, but they also provided clarity. Perhaps the darkness was a twisted reflection of the fears I held onto, a barrier erected to shield myself from pain. Taking a deep breath, I closed my eyes, center myself within the storm, and let the memories surge forth. Images of Sarah as a baby, her first steps, her laughter, moments that brought me pure joy flashed vividly before me. I had felt so alive then, full of promise. But those moments were intertwined with my own despair, my insecurities, my thoughts of inadequacy, the suffocating silence I built around my heart. Let them go. The cleaning lattice voice thundered like the sound of breaking chains, and I felt a rush of energy flood through me. The darkness hesitated, twitching as the light within me grew in intensity. That I release my fear of being inadequate, I cried, the words cutting through the air as if wielding a weapon. I release the guilt of my failures that haunt me. I will not let them dictate my worth. As I spoke, a bright surge of light pulsed at the center of the storm, stunning the shadows that wrapped around us. I felt the chains of despair begin to loosen, the weight of my own past peeling away like the layers of an old, tattered book, nothing more than remnants of a painful story I no longer wished to carry. Keep going. Evelyn encouraged, her voice mingling with the cleaning lady's steady strength. What else do you hold inside? I released the shame of not being the mother I wanted to be. The words echoed, louder and clearer, resonating deep within my soul. Each proclamation fortified the light that erupted, pouring warmth through my fingertips. But just as the shadows began to recoil in horror, a terrifying laugh cut through the air, sinister and mocking. You think you can escape me this easily? You are nothing without your failures. They are a part of you. My stomach lurched as I opened my eyes, the figure of the darkness shifting into a distorted mirage of my past mistakes, my first failures as a mother, every moment of disappointment flashing like a horror film reel. I clenched my jaw against the wave of self-doubt that tried to flood back in. You are not real. You are merely reflections of my fears, as if acknowledging the truth of my words. The cleaning lady stepped closer, her aura blazing. Face them, don't run. They hold no power over you anymore. With her encouragement, I stepped into the shadows, embracing each fear as it swirled around, wrapping around me like tendrils ready to ensnare me again. I am not my mistakes. I screamed, each word igniting a piece of light that burst forth, fighting against the consuming shadow. That I am not my past. I am not defined by moments of weakness. Tears streamed down my face, fueled by a fierce resolve. For every haunting memory I confronted, the shadows transformed, lessening their grip, the suffocating darkness finally starting to lift. But suddenly, just as it seemed victory was at hand, the shadows shrieked in unison, a cacophony of despair. You may escape for now, but I will always be lurking in the corners of your mind. Remember that, Amanda. You are never truly free. As their echoes receded, I felt a jolt within. Was it fear? Doubt? Nearly every moment of terror and failure that had haunted me swelled in my chest, threatening to break through. The weight of the cleaning lattice support steadied me. Focus, Amanda. Your love for Sarah will guide your way. She implored, but just then, I heard another voice, a weak cry among the tempest. Mommy, I'm tired, I can't hold on much longer. Sarah's small voice sliced through me like ice, igniting a fresh wave of urgency. My heart raced, flooded with panic. I turned towards her direction and saw her flickering light dimming, fighting against the consuming shadows that still threatened her. No. Sarah! I screamed, but the shadows lurched forth, closing the distance, and I realized I could either choose to retreat to their familiar entrapment or press forward into the overwhelming unknown, with Sarah's fate hanging in the balance, and the colossal specter of my choices washing over me. I grasped the hands of both Evelyn and the cleaning lady, feeling their warmth interlace with my own resolve. Together, we can do this. I shouted, even as the shadows clawed at us, swirling a storm of chaos around. The echoes of doubt roared like thunder, but in that moment, surrounded by unexpected guardians and the fiercest love I knew one thing for certain: the fight wasn't over, but we would face it together. But as I cast my gaze back to the direction of my daughter, fighting to hold on to her light, a chilling realization pierced my heart. The dark laughter hung in the air, whispering of broken promises and bitter truths I had yet to confront. The shadows may have retreated for now, but I sensed a storm brewing beneath the surface, and in its depths lay the very heart of my choices and sacrifices yet undisclosed. What more would I have to confront to save my daughter? What secrets did I still hide from myself, ready to unfurl in our most desperate hour? The shadows danced and lurked, waiting for the opportune moment to ensnare us once more. And with that uncertainty hanging heavy in my heart, fear and resolve blended into a desperate plea. I had yet to discover what true strength lay within, and the fight was just beginning. The shadows loomed around us, pulsing with an ominous energy as if they were aware of the chaos unfolding. I stood at the precipice, heart pounding as my daughter's light flickered before me, fragile and quivering against the tide of encroaching darkness. Contemplation and fear warred within me. Could I really breach the depths of despair and pull us both back from the brink, Mommy? Sarah's voice rang out, a delicate thread tethering me to the light. I'm scared. Please don't leave me. The rawness in her voice broke through the thick haze of uncertainty surrounding me. I met her gaze, fierce resolve igniting within me like a blazing fire, refusing to let darkness claim her. I won't let you go, sweetheart. You are stronger than this, and so am I. But the shadows twisted, morphing into grotesque forms, veering through my fears as they called out, "You're not enough. You never were." I gritted my teeth against the barrage of despair, feeling their claws scrape against my memories, years of self-doubt and my compounded sins echoing back, threatening to drown me. Remember, Amanda. The words of the cleaning lady pierced through the tumult, each syllable igniting a spark within. Your love for Sarah is your light. Let it guide you, love. The concept felt like a balm against the chaos. I closed my eyes, taking a deep, grounding breath. Images cascaded through my mind, the moments of joy with my daughter, the laughter, stories I shared, the simple uncontrollable glee emanating from her soul. But then, memories of the inadequacies, the nagging thoughts of unworthiness crept in as well, the anger I felt when I couldn't shield her from the harshness of reality. How many times did my fear overshadow my love? I pressed my hands to my heart, letting the warmth flow through me, and summoned the courage to confront those very shadows. I see you. I shouted into the void, my voice steady and assured, yet trembling with emotion. You are born from my fears and regrets, but I will not let you bind me or my daughter. As my words resonated into the encompassing storm, the shadows writhed, recoiling against my defiance. I felt the tether connecting me to Sarah grow stronger, a bridge forged from the very essence of our love, Mommy. Sarah's cry echoed in my heart, urgency radiating like light through a darkened tunnel. Help me. With newfound breath in my lungs, I let out a mighty roar. I love you, Sarah. I've battled my fears for so long, haunted by doubt, but not today. Not anymore. And as I spoke, I could feel the warmth engulfing me surge, an alliance between my love, Evelyn's unwavering strength, and the cleaning lattice fierce resolve. Together, we formed a circle, hands clasped tightly as we faced the darkness head-on. We will shine brighter than any fear, I declared, the words bursting forth as if channeling the most powerful spell imaginable. Flashes of light erupted from our joined hands, pushing against the shadows that strained at the edges of our defense. Brilliance pierced through the darkness as if illuminating every hidden corner of my heart. Sarah, embrace the light. Trust in our love. Suddenly, a blinding light emanated from the center of our circle, driving the shadows backward, their shrieks of rage erupting like a thunderstorm. I locked eyes with Sarah's figure as she fought within the spirals of darkness that ensnared her, her light flickering but holding on. Mommy, I'm trying. She cried, the desperation lacing her words, tugging at the very fabric of my heart. I want to come back, I know. You can do this. I poured every ounce of belief into my words. We're fighting for you. You are our strength. In that instant, the swirling shadows began to dissolve, crumbling into particles of nothingness, disbanding under the unfaltering glow that burst forth from our shared conviction. I could see Sarah's form stabilizing, creating a pulsing light, breaking free from the tendrils of despair that sought to keep her shackled. Yes. Sarah, reach for us. I shouted, urging her forth as the blinding radiance filled the room, expanding to wrap around her, and then, in a moment of unfathomable clarity, I understood that the intense battle ahead was not merely against darkness, it was a challenge of love, fervent and blazing. Sarah, we love you through every shadow and flicker. Join us. With those words, Sarah stepped forward, her luminescence erupting, intertwining with ours, creating a symphony of unwavering light that burst through the dark and unstoppable force. She was no longer just my daughter, she was our connection, our promise, a beacon of hope illuminated by the warm threads of unconditional love woven through every moment shared. As the last remnants of the shadows shattered like broken glass, they revealed the truth. Freedom lay in vulnerability and unity, the acceptance of our fears intertwined with our radiant love. The room shimmered as the power of our connection enveloped us in a cocoon of warmth and hope, each breath reinvigorating. I drew my daughter into my arms, her light and warmth flooding my own senses like a parched desert soaking in the summer rain. That I promised to always stand in the light with you, I whispered, the heaviness of dread slowly dissipating as I cradled her close. Tears streamed down my face, a release of the pent-up fears that had haunted me for so long. And as I embraced her, I recalled the cleaning lady, the unexpected guardian whose strength had guided us. When I turned back to thank her, she smiled, a knowing look threading between us. Remember, Amanda, she said, her voice lilting softly like a gentle wind. The light you've uncovered will guide you from here on. The shadows may flicker at your feet, but with love in your heart, you will find your way. And as she began to fade, I understood this journey would always be a part of us. The battle may never truly be over, but I would have the courage to face the darkness as long as I had love in my heart, tethering me to light. As the universe twisted, contorted, and finally settled into serene calm, I looked into Sarah's eyes, filled with unwavering faith. Together, we would create a path illuminated by love. It was a promise I'd never again take for granted. With every beat of my heart, the newfound strength surged. This light would never wane. We stepped forward together, and with one last glance at the world we had overcome, I embraced the truth. Love had the power to conquer fears, and together, we would always find our way back to the light. For shadows may lie in waiting, but from the depth of our bond, we thrived, and we shall rise forever in the brilliance of love, unabashed and unwavering.